Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Placerville Planning Commission. It's about 6 o'clock on Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. If we would all please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you all. Mr. Cahill, will your new assistant be calling the roll, or has she not yet been assigned those duties?
Certainly will, and I'd like to introduce you all to Dina Watkins Howie. And she's filling in for a while as the Planning Commission Secretary, will be taking minutes and all of that.
Okay, so Dina's our secretary, and so it's your honor to call the roll. Please do so.
We'll call Chair Keeney.
Here.
Chair Vice Chair Lepper.
Here.
Commissioner Sylvester.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Stratton.
Here.
All right. Item number 3 is closed session reports, of which we have none. Item 4 is adoption of our agenda. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you, Alyssa. Second,
Second.
from Amy Lepper. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Mr. Smith, your microphone's not on?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, okay. Next is our consent calendar. All matters listed are considered routine and will be enacted by general consent unless any commissioner requests a roll call vote or unless any member of the commission staff or audience wishes to remove an item for discussion. And on our consent calendar is approval of the minutes from our April 1st, 2025 meeting. Would anyone want to pull the minutes? Any concern with the minutes? No? So can we have a motion to approve the minutes from our prior meeting?
Motion to approve our minutes from our April 1st meeting.
Thank you, Catherine. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion is second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Very good. Next is number 7, items of interest to the public and public comment on non-agenda items. This portion of the meeting is reserved for people wishing to address the commission on any matter not on the agenda. State law prohibits the commission from acting on items not listed on the agenda except by special action of the planning commission under specified circumstances. Wow. You're quick. Good evening. If you would, please state your name for the record.
Michael Dribish, City of Placerville. Just want to start putting it on people's radar, especially with new members and everything, to get back to, there was a movement a while ago, protecting the old railroad bridge at the end of town, like 1903. It's just being overgrown. I tried to see if it was on the city's historical resource inventory list, but I didn't even know how to find an APN for that parcel. Because I do believe it belongs to the city, but that's
And you,
a good
are you familiar where the inventory is?
Yeah,
I don't
and
know
there
off the top
are
of my head, but you know how to
parcels with
access
just
it.
APNs. So I'd just like to know, is it already on the resource inventory? And if not, can we have a future agenda item to consider placing it there and giving it a little more protection? I mean, it's also Caltrans. That section of 50 is designated historic viewshed. So that's another reason. And just with that, maybe with that designation, maybe you can get some grants for weed clearing and such. And just, I don't even know if you need like a special subcommittee to create some kind of, just start talking about it and let's try and protect a resource that's just totally ignored and hidden on the end of town there. That's all.
Well, thank you. Mr. Cahill or Dina, do you happen to know? I don't know the inventory in detail. That doesn't strike me as something I've seen on the record, but Mr. Drobish will check and maybe discuss it at our next meeting. You've looked at that inventory. Do you remember seeing something about the railroad bridge?
No, that one, it's that kind of disjointed one I found. So I haven't read through each and every one on there, so I don't recall off the top of my head if it's on there, but we can look, and definitely falls in line with what we're talking about.
My memory is that it is. The other one that's of interest is a building that's been housed by Elder Options. Anybody familiar with that Victorian structure?
By 49er
It's down next to the ice cream place, liquor store. That was Forney Road's toll house. Forney Road was a toll house in the 1800s, and that's where they collected tolls to go on the road. But that's also in the inventory.
So that's on Lower Main. Okay.
Right.
All right.
I
Well,
think it's the second building, the second place that's listed from that end upwards.
and your concern is whether or not it's in our inventory?
My memory is that it is.
Okay.
The bridge is / aqueduct railroad overpass is listed, my memory.
Okay.
And the second one up from that is the Forney Road Toll House, which is listed.
Okay, so what you're saying, your recollection is that the railroad bridge is already included in our inventory?
I'm almost certain on it. Bet on
Okay,
it.
great. So we have that question answered, so great. So now we just need to see how we could best protect it. Okay. Any other comments on that? All right. Thank you for that. Next, we go to presentations and educational workshop sessions, of which we have none. And next is item 10, environmental assessments, public hearings. We have no new environmental assessments, so we'll go to number 11, which is continue items. And this is the site plan review, 25-2, Market on Main exterior lighting. Consideration of a site plan review request to approve existing unpermitted string lighting along the front facade and fence line of 585 Main Street. Find the request categorically exempt from CEQA. Location 585 Main Street. Now, we've had a presentation on this before. Mr. Cahill, is there, is there more to add from the staff?
There's no new information to present at this time. The restaurant owner was contacted?
She was contacted and said she would come.
Okay.
She's not.
So what we could do is, we could do the other item first and maybe then consider this item, like just
So,
rearrange it.
I'm sorry, it's your understanding that the applicant was planning to be here tonight?
I talked to her today, and she said she was going to be coming, and I told her 6 p.m., and
Yeah.
And so did she give a time when she
she said she'd be here.
said she would be here? So, all right, well, given that, sure. We don't have to change the agenda, do we? Or can we just move on and
We're just switching it.
we'll just switch
That's
it?
easy. We just did.
All right, well, let's go ahead and cover the new business, item 12, the City of Placerville Active Transportation Plan. This is a request to the Planning Commission that they review the City of Placerville Active Transportation Plan and forward a recommendation of adoption of the plan to City Council. And I see from the memos we were provided tonight, I wasn't the only one who struggled with this, and I don't know about the rest of you, but Mr. Cahill, I'll turn it over to you to kind of get us oriented on this.
Okay, thank you very much. And, you know, the comments that I received from the commissioners today were all very valid and certainly have some answers here for you, and maybe not some answers as well. I don't So this was adopted in 2020, this active transportation plan by the El Dorado County Transportation Commission. And, I mean, as far as we know, it was not then acted upon by the city council or planning commission. But at this time, the reason why it's before you, even 5 years later, is because the city engineer, has in mind certain grants that require us, one of the stipulations to apply for the grant is that you've adopted the active transportation plan. And all the plan does is, it's basically, it's a vision statement. It identifies projects, funding, costs, and for enhancing bicycle and pedestrian mobility through the town and safety. Since the plan's 5 years, usually it's like the moment you write a plan, it's out of date. This is 5 years later. So, my guess is there will come a point where this plan is updated. It would have been great if you had all been around 5 years earlier and we could have presented this plan to you, because I think that really it just improves the whole plan to just catch little errors like this. But on the other hand, there's two things we could do is the staff's recommendation is for the commission to forward a recommendation of the plan to the city council. And you could also, as part of that recommendation, just say that, we recommend the plan, we like the concept, we like the projects, what it's trying to do. We just would appreciate some of these items cleaned up, and then we can forward these comments to the El Dorado Transportation Commission and find out if we can either just get some simple text amendments or wait until the plan is, updated. So one way or the other, because none of this is, all the comments are legit. They're not substantive in the sense that they're changing the whole plan around, but they're important. It just makes it more clear to the reader. So that would be our recommendation, and it's, the plan's here. It's kind of, I think it was over 100 pages, but there's at least 80 that are, the plan itself, and then there's appendixes. So I don't know that I need to really walk you through the plan per se, but I can try to answer your questions. And I'll admit, I skimmed through it. I did not exhaustively go through it, so you may know it better than I do at this point. But that's before you, and I'm here to answer questions that you may have on the plan or process.
Okay. That's what I had figured was with this plan, since it was dated 2020. I'm not sure if the county adopted this or whether it's just the Transportation Commission's document. And so since there's a need for the city engineer to have this, on the books, so to speak, before she applies for grants to enhance pedestrian and bicycle safety, I understand the need to move this along. So do you think that it would be sufficient to simply attach the comments that Alyssa Stratton and I sent to the city? Or do you think it would be more appropriate to summarize all of this and perhaps anything else that comes up tonight into a cover letter from the Planning Commission to be attached for City Council's consideration when they adopt this? What do you think would be the best process?
I would recommend that, what I would do is cut and paste all of your comments and include it in the staff report to the City Council. Just say the Planning Commission had the following comments. Just list them down, and that, we would forward those comments. If the council adopts the plan, we would forward the recommendation, give the commission notice that we've adopted the plan, and by the way, if it's not too late, we have some, some corrections we'd like you to consider.
Okay. So I understood. I would say, for my part, the only substantive problem I had was figure 2.3, the population density map. Maybe the rest of you understood that. I see 2.3, it's on, this page is not numbered, but it's on or about page 16. And what it showed to me was that within the city boundaries, the population per square mile was less dense than in other places nearby in the county. And so when I see something like that and it's not explained, then I get suspicious and I wonder, well, what was their methodology? Why does it look like this? But, Mr. Cahill, you're right. Their conclusions as far as the list of projects in the city and sources for funding that the city could access and their conclusions are fine. I had no problem with those. So I just wanted to highlight that concern to the rest of the commission. So I think we all now understand why this has come before us here in 2025. What do the rest of you think? Any comments about the active transportation plan or anything you'd like to add for council's consideration when this moves forward?
I guess some questions I had was about Main Street. For the bicycle route, it goes around Main Street and not through it, is that right? Because we've got a trail right behind here.
Yes, the El Dorado Trail. So, yeah, there's no real room for bicycle improvements on Main Street, and there are already improvements for pedestrian safety.
So that would be excluded, the Main Street area would be excluded from the green markers and things of that kind.
I don't know that it would be excluded. When they did all the work on Main Street, they worked on the water and lines, maybe sewer lines underneath, and then they repaved, and that's when the Sharrows went in. So that was several years ago now. So I don't know that it's not, it would be excluded. However, what this consultant did was work with the city to identify new projects that are listed, I think, in an appendix, one of the appendices. So I don't think it's, I don't think it'd be excluded.
Yeah, it's,
Well, when I use the word excluded, I'm referring to the bike lanes, not the instruments that are used to lock up bikes, but for the path for bikes to take. And I wanted to make it clear that for Main Street, we're talking about going around it through the trail behind us. Is that correct?
well, I mean, it's not intended, one's not intended to replace the other, but the trail is available to cyclists. It's a multi-use trail. I see, especially kids, all the time riding up and down Main Street and other riders. So it's like, they can use it. There's really limited potential to improve it for, like, if you try to put in bicycle lanes, you're likely to lose parking. Like, there's only hard choices if you're trying to make it safer for cyclists on Main Street. What's the advantage is traffic generally goes slow on Main Street, so it seems.
We hope.
And also, the plan itself recommends that the city and also then El Dorado County Transportation Commission update this every 10 years. So it's halfway through the cycle. So this is something when they do their next public outreach that, comments like that would be collected. And then if Main Street is due for an upgrade, it could be added to that list. I think what they did here was, add and it's Appendix C, a list of new projects that need to be constructed.
So the purpose of this is so that the city would be able to seek grant money to do these kind of new projects, correct? And so what we're doing would be asked to at least give a general endorsement of the idea that go ahead and seek the money, but it doesn't necessarily saying we're going to sign off on what specific project you've come up with, because it necessarily will change.
That's
Or
right.
can.
And projects that the city engineer can find funding for, like, that's the next stage in the process. So they will present, as part of a CIP, a capital improvement program, they will present to the city council certain bicycle safety projects and say, here's what we're recommending. We have grant funds, maybe it's a matching grant. And then the council would have the final say on it. They could say, no, we don't want to spend the money, forget it, but it'll be their call at the end.
So if I understand it for a motion, it could be,
Let's not get that, we still need to take public comment, so,
please.
we'll get to that when we bring it back to the commission. Any other questions for staff at this time about the plan and our process, what's before us? Okay. Would anyone in the audience like to comment on the 2020 City of Placerville Active Transportation Plan? And I see Mr. Drobish is back at the podium. Welcome back.
Yeah, I had problems with this document throughout, and I appreciated your list of items. I didn't get to look at every page carefully. But it looks like it was kind of produced overall for El Dorado County, and we can pull out of it what sections are ours. So
Yeah,
I guess
agreed.
that's how they saved money by doing
Sure.
that. Let's see, I have a request, I don't know if it's in there, that going forward, does everyone know what a truncated dome is? It's the little annoying bumps outside stores and at the crosswalks. They're usually bright yellow, and they're for the blind. So what color does it?
Now I know what you're, I think that's in
been a
the
long-
design,
Yeah.
there's a
Anyway,
name for
so we
that.
found out yellow is not required. That's why in historic downtown, we have the deep rust red truncated domes at the crosswalks. And I would like to set a city standard that going forward, to have an entire cohesive look throughout the city, that they're all that dark, red color.
Right.
Yeah,
That dark
so
red
any
color.
project, as we rebuild our roads and sidewalks to get the ADA compliance, that's what those are for also. And that they all just have that consistent dark red color instead of the bright yellow. I'm not a fan of the green striping, especially on the new Broadway, because I was specifically looking this winter on a dark, rainy night. Hopefully there's no bicyclists out there, but that's when they need the greatest visibility. The contrast, that green just disappears on a wet, rainy, dark winter night. I prefer black and white. It provides the greatest contrast. As far as I can tell, the green striping is not required, it's an option. So it's worked for 100 years. White striping on black pavement. I think adding more colors just creates more visual pollution and confusion. There's people that have no idea, especially the new crosswalks. You have like a 4-foot wide band of green with bicycles in it, and there's 2 stop bars. Which stop bar do I have to stop at both of them or get a ticket? I mean, those are legal questions, so I think the green adds a level of confusion that's not warranted. So if there's a designated, the trail, something like that, but on the roadways, I think the green hurts more than helps. White on black gives better contrast. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment on the active transportation plan? In response to that, the green on the bike crossings, I know what you're talking about on the Broadway, and I'm just going to say, that's probably the latest recommendation, and so when it went out for bid, that's probably, what was recommended, but that's definitely something the city engineer needs to hear, and evaluate if it's really more effective than any other color combination. Okay, we have no other public comments, so we'll close that part of the hearing and bring it back to the commission for discussion and action. So I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Smith.
My comment is that at this stage, I feel uncomfortable trying to get into specifics about green markers, black
yeah.
and white markers, and things of that kind.
Right. That's
and
not
they're
really
very
what we're
good
talking about
concerns.
tonight.
As somebody who has a bicycle, I'm not ready to use the bicycle until I do my estate planning more aggressively. But, so I like that, and there may be ways to do iridescent markers and all kinds of things. But at this stage, it's not necessary to look at those. My understanding is that what we're doing is being asked to give a recommendation as to the engineering department going forward to seek their grant money, whether they can get it or not, and to go forward where they would make specific plans, and it would be up to the city,
Right.
hearing all these kind of comments, to make final decisions. But for us, it's merely to move this along as something we embrace as a thoughtful examination and one that deserved close attention by the city council after the engineering department proceeds with grant applications, something like that.
Right.
motion.
We're, like all planning, we're, at a high level, we're looking over the range of possibilities, and we aren't being asked to look at the details. There were a lot of recommendations for design review, options that were given in this plan. So, your assessment is correct. We're not getting into the weeds tonight. We just want to allow the city to, it's essentially check a box. Yes, they've adopted this plan. They've considered all these options. And so then, given that, when you apply for grants, you need to show that you've done some due diligence on your own. This fulfills that need for grants to then fund projects that then the city would look at in detail, and people could comment on color combinations and so on. All right, any other
No,
comments?
I think everything's been covered.
Yeah, and I want to thank you, Alyssa, for submitting your comments. This is just what we need to do, make sure that it's in writing and also available for the public to see, so that they know that we're reading this and taking this seriously. All right, with that then, I'd entertain a motion to take action on this plan. Would someone like to do that?
I guess the motion is that we approve the plan as an instrument that would be submitted to the council for consideration, with the idea that the engineering department would be using it to make application for grants, and that we offer the attached comments to provide some guidance as to things that were noted as we reviewed this instrument.
And I'd like to add a friendly amendment to that, I think we need to state that it is categorically exempt from CEQA. And also, what about adding our comments, including our comments in the staff report? Could that be part of your
I think I
motion?
said that, but yes.
Okay. Great.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. Thank you. Dina, please call the roll.
Commissioner, Chair Keeney,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lepper,
Aye.
Commissioner Sylvester,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Stratton.
Aye.
Okay. 5-0. All of our actions are appealable, correct?
Well, this one's automatically going up to the city council.
Okay, so not appealable. Good.
Yes.
So it goes right up to city council, and
Right, and then they will make the choice to adopt it, hopefully, or not, and we'll then be ready to hopefully apply for some grants. For those of you who enjoyed reading the active transportation plan, there's one other resource I can add, and that is called the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and that is published periodically by the Federal Highway Administration, and that's the manual that governs all traffic design, markings and paint colors and all of that. So if, and sometimes the standards change, they're periodically updated and they try things and maybe they don't work, but that's what the city engineer will follow whenever they propose a bicycle or pedestrian or even a roadway project. That's what they're going to follow, is that manual.
That sounds scintillating. So,
Can we
Yeah.
adjourn now so I can go? No.
no, I'm sorry, Ms. Lever, we have more work to do, but I know what you're going to be as soon as you get out of here. All right, thank you very much for that. So let's move back now to our continued item, the site plan review, Market on Main exterior lighting. And are you Ms. Dunlap? I am. Hi. Just a minute. Is there anything to add at the staff level? We kind of started with this and then went over to the transportation plan. Anything
Right,
else?
so a
Do you want to give a staff report or overview or?
Just a quick recap, which was
Okay.
that you did, this staff report was presented to you at your last hearing, and, you know, it's a pretty simple, straightforward request, which was, you know, for string lighting, and I really think it just comes down to, you know, if you think the amount of lighting is appropriate, if you want to see less, this is the time to give the staff and the applicant some direction on what you'd like to see in terms of suitable, appropriate string lighting at this particular location.
And I think the staff was able to answer our questions. Our questions were really, the ones remaining were for the applicant, correct?
I guess I just had some questions about the photographs that are depicted specifically in pages 3 and 5. Who took the photographs and when were they taken?
I took the photographs, and they were taken.
Here, you want to go up to the,
Go ahead and step up to the podium. We'll,
you can answer the
Do
question.
you happen to have them just so I can see?
Yes.
them right?
well, before we do that, does anybody have any questions for staff before we have, okay, great.
You want to open the,
Just want to make sure that we, at the staff level, we have those, so we'll just proceed to talking to you directly. Yeah,
ready to hear from the applicant?
sure, we're ready to hear from the applicant. And you are Carissa Dunlap?
Dunlap, yes. I just got married, so.
Thank you for
sometimes
coming
it says
down.
De Leon, so I'm still in the process of changing it. I keep going back and forth, I just haven't gotten there yet. So I'm looking at these, these were all taken around the holiday season. Yeah, these are actually all pretty new. Yep. These are all from the last 6 months, I would say, at the oldest.
Okay, let's take a step back. Typically, in a public hearing, what we do is allow the applicant to review the proposal or the application with us and highlight anything that you would like to at this time. You know, we've read the staff report and then also the attachment that was, you know, your application and pictures that you took and so on. But is there anything, would you like to summarize or add anything or emphasize anything for us?
Mostly, it's just, the concern is for us to be visible, especially when the days get extra short. That side of Main Street is pretty dark, and we are set back. And with the time of every other building that's in the area being closed fairly early and us being there a little bit later, nobody can see us. Also, just for safety, when myself or an employee is leaving, I just want them to be able to see. And because, you know, with the creek right there, you just, you know, it's just better to have light a little bit. So we were hoping that it would not be an offensive amount.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm very sensitive to the topic. I think we all are. Safety for, well, your employees as well as, you know, any of your customers that might be on that side accessing the building. My concern is the lights on the fence, and
Okay.
that's very different from what we've seen before. Typically, the string lighting it's an architectural accent, and that's what most businesses, most of the applications, all the applications we've had have it just on the building itself, outlining the gables and so on. And so this is quite a bit more. And
Okay.
I think it's a little too much. And I did read your application, you did emphasize safety and path lighting.
Yes.
I think my problem with using the string lighting is you're trying to make one product do a variety of things that it's not necessarily suitable for. If you need path lighting, that's a different kind of product. Safety lighting, of course, can be much different. I mean, there's a wide range, and so my concern is that this is trying to take one product and make it do more than what it was intended for. I like the look on the gables in the front, and even on the railing of the porch, maybe not too much, but to me, the fence lighting was too much.
I understand that. That is something that we considered, and because of the scale, like the pitch of the ADA ramp that we have, getting a light that can go next to it is a little more difficult than we were able to find at the moment. And so this seemed like a good kind of
And that ADA ramp you're referring to,
just the pitch of it from the sidewalk up to the building.
from
done
Main
long
Street
before we got there.
up to the front door of your
Yes,
business,
yeah,
that
yeah. Because
whole
it is,
pathway.
it's elevated quite a bit. So it does make it a lot more difficult to find a good product that is not only affordable, but that doesn't look overly bright. A lot of them were a little offensive to, I was like blinded.
And
So we were trying to find a happy medium there.
I'm thinking that that would have been part of the, better incorporated as part of the design to begin with, as
yeah, it probably
the
should have
wiring
been,
as opposed
yeah.
to doing a retrofit after the fact.
Yeah, probably should have been.
Go ahead.
I have a question. Can you just tell me your thought process, and maybe it's related to the electrical outlets that you have available, of putting the lighting all the way on the west side versus on the interior fence that goes along that path? What was your?
That was due to outlets available.
I kind of thought that was the
Yeah.
case. That was my
It
primary
is such,
concern.
it's such an old building, and we were only able to update so much, so.
If the lighting were to move to that other one, would that be feasible, or even what's the word? Do you want that? Would you want lighting on that internal fence, or is that
I'm
not?
definitely open to it. My biggest concern is trying to get it taken care of, like pulling it all down and redoing it. My father-in-law actually did it. That's why we didn't have a permit. I didn't know that we needed it. He just kind of did that. He was trying to be helpful, and it didn't quite work out the way he had hoped.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if it's something that we can do, I would be open to it. I just would like it to be as smooth as possible, because it is a pretty big undertaking.
Go ahead.
Sure. I have a different view, and it's partly stems from the idea that I'm not sure your photographs are accurately depicting the issue. To look at page 3, the lower left, you have, as you do on the following page, a photograph that shows a direction going east, where you encompass string lights from 3 different places: yours, the building next door, and the city's street lights that are up during the winter. And those are all string lights, but the one necessarily closest to the viewer, you, is going to be brightest. So the argument of the city staff that it's very bright and garish is undercut by the idea that it's inconsistent with what would be the view if you viewed it from the street forward. In addition, you've got 3 buildings in a row that are all historic buildings.
Yes,
Yours is the oldest.
it is.
And if we're talking about small business, at least in terms of square footage, you can't get much smaller than yours.
No.
And in terms of color, the others are lighter. We've got pink with some white trim, yellow with some white trim, and yours, which is dark gray. It's thematic, a color scheme that's consistent with the early gold rush Victorian period, but it's dark. And as you pointed out, it's a safety issue. I was in Folsom last week at Trader Joe's, and the significance is right across the street at CVS was a person sprawled out 20 feet from the entrance. And what was surprising is I come back later, plenty of daylight, lots of people around, and the person's still there. That happens in Placerville all the time. We've had hypodermic needles within walking distance of the courthouse, including people camping out right next to the public restrooms. And so your property, when it comes to police coming by to do patrols at night, are not going to see anything if somebody's sprawled out in front of your doorway, because it's dark. And it's certainly going to be dark during the winter.
Right.
So I'm not sure that your lights, we know that the lights on the other installations are all string lights, presumably the same wattage LEDs and the same lumens. So you don't show the other buildings to show a comparison, and your lights are very bright. So our only consideration is one thing, safety, because the first element, energy efficiency, that's a no-brainer.
Right.
We're really talking about efficiency and safety. And when it comes to safety, you have that walkway that's necessary to see because of gravel on the left and so on. And I don't know of anybody who's complained. So that's why why I don't see a problem with it as it is, because it's a matter of safety only. And you've got the lights on the building, and I don't know if anybody complained about that, but the lights right up here on page 5 on the right shows that what would otherwise be a very dark spot.
Yeah, you're talking about on the porch, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's also
Somebody
for the
sprawled out
steps
just like they were at
area.
CVS Pharmacy at night, you wouldn't see it.
Yeah. We did also kind of hope that those lights would help avoid any tripping on those steps in that grassy area as well.
How much does it cost to get a permit to put up the string lights?
It was $500.
Okay.
And then that's without the cost of what would have been the labor and then also the actual lights themselves.
But for the permit, how much did it cost?
$500.
Any other questions for our applicant? Okay, please have a seat. Mr. Dervish, would you like to comment on this application? We'll open the hearing up to our one audience member. Welcome back again.
Yeah, going back to the last planning commission meeting, I was shocked that the two agenda items were two businesses with plug-in string lights getting triggered to pay $500-600 for a site plan review for just the plug-in string lights. And I thought, I can go to the counter with $100 and tear down virtually any building that's not in a historic district in this town. I've seen it happen. Anyway, separate. So I did some looking at the state law and the city law. Obviously, it's voluminous. I can't read it all, but so luminaries are AKA light fixtures, right? So we're talking about the same thing. It is a permanent fixture with a base with the electrical connections and broadcast light. I'm just paraphrasing. And then in California, they define what is not a luminary, and it's things such as corded lamps that plug in. So then when you look at, anyway, the definition of non-luminary can be looked up, and therefore I'm of the thought that a plug-in string light is a lamp. It is not a luminary or light fixture. And then when you go to the city's definition of luminary, it is a complete lighting unit consisting of a light source and all necessary mechanical, electrical, decorative, and support parts. Then the city's regulations get triggered with light pollution, light trespass, such like that, but they're all talking, all the city code uses both luminary and fixture throughout, given what era the language was adopted in. The purpose of the lighting regulations in the city is to balance safety and security with the city's desire to preserve night skyscape with negligible light trespass and glare impact to surrounding property, especially residential properties. So my question is, should a site plan review have even been triggered by these plug-in string lights? In my mind, it looks like no. So I think the applicant should, it looks to me like string lights are exempt from city's code. Temporary lighting for holiday decorations is exempt, plug-in Christmas lights, if you will.
Okay. Do you have any comments? I understand that you have
I
issue
think
with
this is all
triggering the
moot.
site plan review, but the fact is that it has been triggered and we have a decision. So I'd like to hear if you have a comment about this particular installation.
Yeah, there's no standing for this.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, no other public is here, so we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion and possible action.
I would like to respond to that briefly, if that's okay. In the sense that I just want to say that I did give a lot of thought to your comment at the last meeting around lighting and whether these are temporary. And I disagree with your interpretation. So I don't think that they are temporary or akin to Christmas lights because the applicant stated they were permanently installed and took a lot of work to install. So to me, that is a permanent lighting fixture. It's not a take up, take down every other week. So that's just to say that my interpretation is different. So there may be some openness there, but I agree that these are permanent, they run with the land, and they are not temporary light fixtures, in my opinion.
Thank you.
I had a follow-up question as well.
Sure, briefly.
Just for the
I'd
staff.
rather get back to the case at hand, whether or not this is triggering a site plan review, but
We're still fact-finding. So if you would, Mr. Neal, Mr. Droby cited the state plan, it's code, the energy code, Title 24, I think it is. I'm just going to read what it says. It says, non-permanently installed luminary. What the witness said is the installation was affixing it to the fence. But otherwise, as to the location, following up on a question from our colleague, Ms. Lepper, was that it was plugged in. So they put it on the left side or the west side of the entrance because there was a outlet there. So that's plugging it in, and that's what Title 24 of the Energy Code for the state refers to. It's Title 24 Energy Code. I just pulled it up on the internet. It says a non-permanently installed luminary, and that's one where you plug it in versus calling an electrician. They would have had to receive an electrical permit to have it installed if you're going to have an electrician come in, which you necessarily would have, but for the fact that you simply plug it in. So the word installation was referring to something different, which is stringing up the lights and securing them to the fence. So do you have any guidance for that for us?
Well, I would say the Title 24 is less relevant in terms of, like, the city can still regulate lighting, whether it's permanent or temporary or somewhere in between, regardless of whatever Title 24 says. And, the public comment was, why do we even regulate lighting? And it was to balance safety with,
Sure.
not having it look like daylight 24/7. So that's, it's pretty broad criteria. I think you have a lot of discretion here about what kind of, what you want to do here.
well, I think this is a valid use of the site plan review process, so I'd like to focus on the merits of this application. And I think I found that interesting, Amy, what you said about possibly installing the lights on the inside run of that fence as opposed to the two strands that are on the exterior.
Yeah.
You know, that also speaks to something I saw in our figure 3 on the top left. You see the structure itself has a run of lights along, I guess that's the gutter, and then it goes up to the gable and so on. And then the two strands of lights on the fence just seems to be excessive for that side. And I don't want, I'm not comfortable setting a precedent of allowing these string lights to be attached to all the fences, but in this case, I am, sympathetic to this concern about lighting that path, and I think that that is a good compromise to move those lights over to the interior run of the fence up to the front door. And then, as far as the rest of that driveway back between the two buildings, you have the lighting from the roof line down to help people see their way back if their car's parked there after dark or whatever. So I like that. In addition to following the staff recommendation of removing the lights on the outside fence, to me, that it's excessive, and I'm not sure it gets them what they need as far as attracting people to their business and then providing a little bit of safety for that pathway. Catherine or Amy, do you want to follow up with that?
Just that was what I was hoping. I'm happy the applicant was here to speak to it, because that was going to be what we touched on at the last meeting, is that I think that those aren't serving the purpose of the safety. I don't have a problem with the lighting down the deck on the side. I think that it's not too much. It's not too visible from the street that it's really going to impact, I think, light pollution or being visually cluttering. And I do see how it can light up that building and just kind of highlight. It is an old and very cool building, and so I like the idea of highlighting it. I'm sensitive to what you said about using string lights to perform multiple things, but I think with the way that they're installed here, that they do highlight the architecture of the whole building. But my inclination is to remove them from that exterior fence, but allow them to go around the seating area to the east, so that they can highlight that they offer a seating area out there, provide safety as people are walking down, which she said has been difficult to find a mechanism to do so in this path, and I understand that. So I think that the string lights can be cohesive with everything and provide that safety for them without having to seek out a new additional lighting. So that would be my plan. My recommendation would be to leave the house as is. I know that she said they worked hard on installing it, and that would be just my inclination. And then to move these external lights to allow them to be on the internal fence and front of the fence to highlight the seating area.
Okay.
That's my inclination.
I agree with Amy's suggestion that it stays on the side, on the deck there. I think that you can see that the deck is open underneath too. And so I think, if we're considering a safety element, that's just something else to consider as far as having that lighting along that stretch there. And I think that it looks nice too. So that's my thought. And moving the lighting to the interior of the fence, that's fine for me.
I guess the suggestion I have, because as far as moving it to the inside, we've already heard the witness say that where it is now is because there's an outlet. But we have no evidence that there's an outlet on the other side. If the issue is it's too garish and too bright, and again, that's an arguable point, but you have a bottom layer. There's two layers of lights, one above and one below. Every time I've driven by, which has been since this was first up, the only lights I've seen on are the ones next door, and they're very bright. And they run the same distance, but they're elevated. So this is down where you would see as you walk in or walk out. So if you remove the lights on the bottom, then you're reducing the amount of lights, which would reduce this area of garishness or being too bright or excessive. But if it's not in the code where we talk about illuminating the presence for making it more visible or for advertising, it's one issue only, which is safety. And we can see from one of the other drawings that walkway is gravel on one side. There's a slight rise, and I'll just point to what would be figure 2. I'm just holding up, not that you can see it from here, but you'll at least know what I'm pointing to. On page 3, it's the top illustrations of figure 2, top and bottom, and they show you that there's gravel over here, and there's a slight raise of wood that keeps the gravel from spilling out. That's a great area for somebody to trip, poses a liability problem. So if you remove that bottom layers of lights, you at least eliminate that argument about it's too bright, because then it's consistent with the next door neighbor that has a row of lights, albeit, 6 feet off the ground.
Yeah, so
But
I
I
do.
don't want to move it when they've already told us that's where the socket is, and they just plug it in.
Yes, so two things is, one is I was going, when I said that I would like to move it to the interior, in my mind, I don't want the bottom layer there. I think just the top layer is sufficient for the seating area, and then they can keep the top and bottom and the decorative lighting that is on the house to provide the lighting around the bottom of the deck like we discussed. But I didn't say this when I said my recommendation, but I would recommend just one top string lighting along the fence, not the bottom string lighting, because I had said this at the last meeting. I don't want there to be breakage or things like that where it's flowing into the sidewalk there or causing problems for maintenance. And I think being on the walkway there, I would prefer to have it just be a top one. And that's why I asked her if it was set up that way originally because of, access to lighting. But I would like to give them the option to put the lights on there. And if they can't figure out how to make that work, then that's just an architectural thing. But I'd like to give them the option to have the string light look around their seating area, because you can see in figure 2, the seating area is very dark and the driveway to the other building is very bright. And so I think that's confusing visually too. So all that to say is that I think moving to the inside, only one top layer, and then she can leave the ones that are installed on the house, in my opinion, are fine as is.
So far, what I'd like to summarize is that we would amend the project description to restrict the lights to the structure and the deck. Lights are limited to the structure and deck and the interior fence rail or / seating area, one strand only. And that would be, we're limiting to that, limiting it to that. And then if it's not feasible for them to install them on that interior line, we're not requiring it. We're just going to say no more than that. So if it works for them, but if it doesn't, then we're not requiring them to do it.
Maybe my simple mind didn't follow, but would it suffice to meet what you're talking about if we said we approve what they've submitted, but for we'd ask for the exclusion of the row of lights on the bottom that's on the rail? Is that what was said earlier by
No,
Ms. Lepper?
not on the fence rail to the outside, just to the
The
interior
top one,
fence.
yes, the bottom one,
One.
no. Is that, did I?
And then on the interior fence that.
One strand on the
What does the
rail.
interior mean?
So there's
So-
a railing right here on the right side of the.
Oh.
I think this one really highlights where I'm talking about.
And that's,
Figure
figure
2, the north front elevation. It's the picture that you can see the walkway very clearly. And you can see on the right hand of the picture is the seating area that is not illuminated right now. On the left hand is where the lights are. I propose that we allow one top string lighting along that right hand eastern fencing, and along the front is fine too, just like it is there. I think it kind of cups around it nicely. And again, if they can't work out that electrical, then she's back where she is now of trying to think of lighting that illuminates that area for many reasons. So I would like to give her the option to put the string lighting there and not have it on that external one and keep it as is.
So if she doesn't have the electrical connection to move it to that internal railing, are we requiring that
No,
it's
we are
just-
not requiring.
Then
we're
it can remain
limiting
as is, but
Yeah.
just removing that lower strand?
No, I think, well, sorry.
my suggestion is to remove from that.
Entirely.
That left strand. I just don't see the safety. I don't think people are, I see people walking to the deck, and I can speak to the safety on that in the back. I can see people, but I don't see the safety added to this fence that's really a border. So it's not really, I don't see the added value
That's
of
the way
it.
I view this, especially Figure 2. I view that too, that a strand of lights on, in Figure 2 on the bottom left, one strand on the fence rail would do more to illuminate the pathway. And so add a little lighting for the seating area adjacent and a little bit of incidental lighting for the path. Again, it's not designated path lighting. It helps, but, I appreciate that, they feel like they need to do that. But the two strands on the left, on the existing fence, are too much. And so I do not want to allow that. And I think, Amy, you're in agreement with that? Okay.
Remove from there, and then they can have one along the top of the internal
But
fence
they're-
and along the front.
But they're not, and then,
They're not
yes,
required.
on the facade, on the building itself.
I'm confused. So on the right, as you go up from the front, there are no lights on the right side.
So they could.
Currently.
We're giving
what
them
she's
the
told
option
you-
to do that.
Her testimony is, they didn't do that.
She didn't say it was impossible. She just said they haven't done that.
Oh,
Well, it's not
Nothing to-
testimony.
It's
not up to
a
us either.
witness, Kirk. This is an applicant, and so we're giving them options, and so it could be solar, it could be, they could pay for more wiring. But what we're trying to do is get a look and not start a precedent where people can string two strands of these string lights along every fence, top and bottom. That, I think we agree, is too much. We like it on the facades. In this case, we have a little different situation. They want to help light that path somewhat, so we're trying to give them a little allowance to do that.
It's
But we're not requiring them to do it.
not a matter of whether it's, anything is possible. How practical is it? If you.
Well, that's up to them. If they,
No,
we're not
excuse me,
requiring
excuse
it.
me, if I may finish. It's up to us to come up with something that's, one, consistent with the law. The law is not for advertising. It's not to give them presents, as was described before. It's one thing only, which is safety. As you look on the left side, as you go there, there's gravel. And what that illumination does is provide illumination to the gravel, which is a hazard. So
No,
my
we're not,
sugge-
we're not here to
Can I finish,
evaluate
please?
safety,
Can I finish,
Kirk. I
please?
think you're getting
Can I
off on a
finish, please?
tangent, and I
No,
think
excuse
you
me.
need to look at the site
I'm a
plan.
commissioner. I'm a commissioner. And
I want you to stay focused on
I would like you to stay focused
project
on letting me
here.
finish my sentence, my thought. Number one, I said you remove the lights on the bottom row. So that would address the issue of being too much lights. The lights on the top, however, are needed because, one, that's where they have an outlet. If you're saying it's their problem, you're talking about bringing in an electrical contractor to install a new box, because that's what she testified to. So my inclination, and I'm trying to come up with a compromise, because right now, my belief is the moving party is the city has not met its burden of proof. I wouldn't, so that's my position. I'm trying to come up with a compromise, and the compromise is you simply remove the bottom layer, the extra layer, because that top layer is going to be no brighter than the lights on the neighboring business that are string lights, same kind of string lights. The difference is they're higher up. And they're higher up for a different purpose. This is lower because it's to eliminate a hazardous situation, which is a gravel pathway. If somebody walks on that, they're going to pose a hazard. That's why.
Well, the hazard was not highlighted either in the application or in the summary that we were given on this project. The project description is that they are trying to add architectural feature lighting to their business, and the idea of a hazard that needs to be mitigated is not part of the project that's before us.
Do you need clarification from the applicant? You need, she may want to speak.
Sure, we can get back to that. I just wanted to see if, Alyssa, you haven't spoken up yet. I didn't know if you had any comments at this point.
Sure. I agree with allowing for the top row of lights on the interior fence line, so to the right of the path. I think a single row would be sufficient for both safety and aesthetic. And like in these figure 2 and the pictures where it's dark, those buildings are quite well lit up. And assuming that these weren't taken with a professional camera setting, that it's pretty hard to do that with like just your phone camera. So I feel that like the street lights and the lighting on the side of the building will be sufficient to light up the gravel to the left of the railings. And then the single row of lights on the interior of the path would be sufficient to light up the path and have folks not walk onto that gravel.
So you're in favor of having a single row of lights on the fence to the left of the building?
The right.
No, right here, the east, the same one I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then the exterior fence?
No.
Okay. All right. Any other? Okay. I would like to invite you back up to the podium, Ms. Dunlap. You've heard what our compromise is. Is that workable for you?
I honestly am unaware of if I can make that work, but I am willing to look into it, because I do agree. I want the seating area to be more highlighted, but again, as far as the safety goes on the side of the building, I don't know if you're familiar with that driveway that goes back between Sweetie Pies and us, and that's where all of their dumpsters and stuff is right there at the end. There has been quite an issue with having people back there that shouldn't be. And so that is also part of why we were happy to have that lighting on that side as well, because it does help deter people that
And you,
have no business
so you
being there.
understand, though, that we're allowing the lighting on the building itself?
Yes.
And the deck,
Yes.
one strand on the deck railing back there?
Yes.
And I did drive by the facility after dark a few days ago, and I noticed that on the Sweetie Pies building, they do have a standard safety light. And
Yeah,
that
they've got
goes back
one
to
on
my
the
original issue is if that is the concern, these string lights, although they're robust, they aren't up to safety lighting standards. And so if this is a problem for your businesses, I think you should investigate putting in safety lighting that can't be tampered with, that's robust, a little bit, this string lighting is pretty tough. It withstands a lot of weather, but kids can unscrew the light bulbs, they can get broken, and you understand they have to be repaired within a certain time according to the conditions of
Right.
approval. From my perspective, safety lighting needs to be up away from where it can be tampered with, and so that it is always, operational and available. So if that is a chronic problem, I would hope that you can take that under advisement and do something. And I'm sorry to hear that you have problems back there, but I understand. Yeah, it's a long driveway and it's back by the creek, and so it's kind of dark and a good place to kind of hide out. So, you're willing to work with our recommendation?
I am willing
and-
to do whatever I can. Like I said, as far as where the outlets are, I need to do a little follow-up on that and double-check and see what it is we are capable of doing, and kind of go from there.
Okay, great. Alyssa, you're.
I think I have a question that's more directed towards staff.
Go ahead and have a seat then.
In the event that you would like to install some sort of safety light, would that need another SPR? Or,
I would say no, based on the fact that you have some pretty detailed lighting standards already in the municipal code, so as long as you're confirming with the ordinance,
okay,
you need to come back.
okay, great.
So that's yeah. Good. Okay.
I'm ready to make a motion. I don't
Go right
know.
ahead.
I want to make sure that I say it correctly, so make sure that I'm capturing it. And I do have a request on our conditions of approval too, just for a slight language change. On number 2, I'd like to change it to say missing or spent light bulbs shall be replaced within a week of failure. I feel like the at a minimum, I wrote maximum, and then I thought, why am I even questioning this? That means it's confusing. So missing or spent light bulbs shall be replaced within a week of failure. If we could make that into our standard language for lighting like this.
I think that's
I just think it causes, like I said, the fact that I paused on that word and thought, is it maximum? Is it minimum? Like, wait, and it made me think that just is unnecessary. So I'll make that in my
okay.
motion here. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So, I'm making sure I'm capturing this correctly in my motion. Okay.
Oh, before you get started.
Yes.
So I don't have to amend.
Please.
I noticed commission action on the last page, 3 and 4, as amended by staff. So if you just mention that we're going to strike that, just leave it as amended, and then you can incorporate.
I'm sorry, where? Oh, okay.
Amended by staff. It's more like our amendments. I think that should, in this case, be, since we're not strictly
doing it.
following staff's recommendation.
Okay.
We agree with staff, and we have a little change. So,
Okay.
having said that, please go ahead.
I will try. Okay. All right. I would like to make a motion that we make the following findings in support of SPR 25-02, that the request is exempt from environmental review and the project qualifies for a categorical exemption under CEQA Guidelines 15301 as the project includes a minor alteration of an existing private structure that shall result in no expansion of the existing use. That the project site 585 Main Street contains a single-story professional building located within the central business district zone. Sorry, I should have. Number 3, that the project request as amended, strike the words by staff, is consistent with the Placerville General Plan, Community Design Element Goal B, and that the revision of the existing exterior lighting on the subject parcel will be consistent with zoning ordinance section 10-4-16 exterior lighting regulations, shall be energy efficient and will provide a element of safety to the sidewalk for pedestrians and customers. The project request is as amended, strike the word by staff, is consistent with the purpose, intent, and criteria of zoning ordinance sections 10-4-9 site plan review, 10-4-16 exterior lighting regulations, and 10-5-14 CBD central business district. And 5, that approval is based on the analysis provided in staff's March 18th, 2025 report to the Planning Commission and limited to compliance with the project description and applicant submittal package as amended by the commission. And that we conditionally approve SPR 25-02 located at 585 Main Street based on the project information and findings included in the staff report and subject to the recommended conditions of approval included in attachment 1 of the staff report dated March 18th, 2025. So to be clear, where do I put in my changes here that we are that the changes to the site plan will be to remove the lighting on the fence on the western elevation of the parcel, with the option to install a single top layer line of lighting on the eastern fence on the interior and as well as along the front, and that the lighting that is currently on the building is acceptable as is. And then the condition of approval number 2, replace, or should I say strike the word at a minimum so that the condition reads, the applicant shall maintain the string lighting to be functional at all times. Missing or spent light bulbs shall be replaced within a week of failure. Did I? Okay.
Well done. All right, for any further comment? Okay.
I guess just
Go ahead.
clarification. You said that for the option of being able to add a second light.
Oh, we have a motion, we need a second.
I second the motion.
You seconded, thank you. I did not hear that. Okay, go right ahead.
I couldn't second it if I didn't understand it.
We always had to.
That's all
So
right.
go ahead with
We'll pass.
with your discussion.
No. No.
That's it?
No, you have a motion. Well,
We have a motion and a second, so further discussion.
no.
Okay, no further comments?
If your question was what I proposed for that other string light, I said one top-level string light on the internal and front fencing.
I think you, if I understood the wording, it was they could add the top one, but not the bottom one.
Correct.
They already have the top one.
No, I'm proposing, I said a different fence. So the fence that it's currently on, I've proposed not to approve, to remove that from that fence.
On the left side?
On the left side, because of what I stated in the deliberations, that I don't think that it serves the purpose that was expressed in the application. I do believe that that would serve a purpose on the eastern, or the fencing to the east of that, as well as along the front to highlight that it is there and that people can see it from the street, with one along the top of each one, so that there is no potential for them breaking on the ground.
And I'm unable to do that because of the testimony that they already have a light.
That is your decision. I made my motion. Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Okay. Please call the vote.
Commissioner, Chair Keeney,
Aye.
Vice Chair Leopard,
Aye?
Commissioner Sylvester,
Aye.
Commissioner Stratton,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
No.
That's 4-1, approval, and this decision has a 10-day appeal period. Again, I want to thank you so much for coming down here, Ms. Dunlap, and answering and watching us go through our deliberations, and we wish you best of luck. Thank you. So now we move on to item 13, matters from commissioners and staff, and we'll start with 13.1, staff reports. Item for staff to update those in attendance on the status of upcoming meetings and recent actions taken by City Council. I'll turn that over to you, Mr. Cahill, if you're ready.
We don't really have anything to add. I don't know, maybe one thing, which is the new director is accepted the city's offer, so she is,
Development Services Director?
yeah, so.
Fantastic.
You'll have a new director next month.
So starting in May.
Sometime next month. It's not the first, but it'll be around the middle of May.
So will we enjoy another planning commission meeting with you leading?
Yeah, it looks quite possible. We do have 2 items coming up for your first meeting in,
So there is a meeting in early May.
yes.
Perfect.
It
So
looks that way.
let me pull up my calendar quickly. So our next, we do have a meeting for May 6th.
Yes.
Okay. And, well, that's
I think there's-
good news that there's a Development Services Director enlisted.
Yeah,
And
I think you got a really good pick.
I'll just take a moment to thank you for stepping in, and it's been a real pleasure to work
Yeah,
with you.
I'll be here on the 6th.
We'll see you for at least one or 2 more meetings.
I would just
That's
ask
great.
Mr. Cahill, you might want to add for them something that you'd be familiar with, but the city council this last year has heard a large number of business people come in to complain about the sign ordinance. And the way the enforcement is going, some suggest it's not done evenly and turns out to be oppressive and difficult for them. So the sign ordinance is something that has been referred to the Economic Advisory Committee to come up with something that may well come back before us. But that's something that these folks may want to know about, because one of the considerations that those angry business people you had a chance to hear before the council commented about was the burdens and costful considerations that are imposed on them. Thank you.
I had a question about, I haven't had a chance to review the video from the city council meeting. There was an abandoned pole sign issue, and could you give us a brief summary about how that turned out?
Okay, so that's for the, I'm trying to remember what this, it was a chiropractor business. It's a pole sign that was originally permitted by the city. The business left that location. The sign stayed up for beyond 6 months. And, then code enforcement was active and they accumulated some fines, and the property owner made a, proposal, or is willing to accept made a request, if the city, if they get the sign down within 30 days, would there be, amnesty on the fines? And the council's okay with the staff working in that direction. Now, if the applicant fails to remove the sign, the fines, all the accumulated fines remain in effect. So that was what happened on that. So council didn't actually take action. It was more of the applicant withdrawing their appeal on the situation. But there's a resolution at hand, but if
30 days.
if the applicant does not do what they said they would do, then the fines remain in effect.
Thank you for that review. I appreciate that. Saves me going through the video, doing the work myself. Okay. Anything else? Dina, anything on your end for us?
Nope, I have nothing.
Okay.
I have nothing.
All right. Then, Planning Commission matters from the commissioners. Anything you'd like? Go ahead, Amy.
My only update is that I am meeting with Jackie No on Thursday for lunch. So we are going to connect over things. I told you, I'm really trying to keep pushing this ball up the hill. So we are going to meet. I'm going to send her my document that I've shared with you guys so that she can kind of catch up and refresh on what I've been working on. And then I'd like to just kind of pick her brain and see what part she feels like she can maybe contribute towards or prioritize or whatnot. But it'll just be good to touch base with her because she had suggested that she would like to be involved in whatever way that she can. So we'll see what that is.
All right. Anyone else have an update? All right. Great. Well, it's 7:21, and we stand adjourned until our May 6th meeting. Take care. Thank you, everyone.